Imagine this, a Tesla Model X, abandoned in a tow yard, looking just like any other impounded car. But inside its front trunk, workers uncovered something that would ignite one of the darkest mysteries the internet has ever obsessed over. A body hidden away, and the Tesla, registered to David Anthony Burke, the rising star the world knows as David. The shocking part? David is still walking free. No charges, no suspect label, and yet the evidence, the internet detective work, and the eerie coincidences have left people asking, how is that even possible? It began with a smell. On the morning of September 8th, in a quiet Los Angeles impound yard, workers were going about their usual routine. Cars get towed in every day. Some abandoned, some repossessed, others just left behind after accidents. But among the rows of dusty vehicles, one stood out for reasons no one expected. At first, the workers brushed it off. A sour, heavy odor drifted in the air. Normally, they'd chalk it up to rotting food left in a trunk, or maybe a dead animal that had crawled under a hood. But as they got closer to a black Tesla Model X, the stench became overwhelming. Sharp, thick, impossible to ignore. One worker later said it was the kind of smell that hits you in the gut before your mind even processes what it is. Curiosity gave way to dread. They decided to check the car's front trunk, the frunk, as Tesla owners call it. What they found inside would turn an ordinary workday into a nightmare. A body wrapped in a bag, already in a state of decomposition, which made the scene almost unbearable to look at. Shock spread instantly. They called LAPD, and within minutes the impound lot transformed into a crime scene. Officers swarmed the area, tape went up, and whispers began spreading about what exactly had been discovered. And then came the detail that made headlines. The Tesla wasn't just any car. It was registered to David Anthony Burke, the breakout artist millions knew as David, a star on the rise, a teenager turned hitmaker. And now, the owner of a car is hiding something that would spiral into one of the most disturbing mysteries of recent years. At first, many people refused to believe the connection. Fans insisted someone must have stolen the vehicle, planted the body, and framed him. How could a singer performing sold-out shows possibly be tied to something so grim? But as the hours turned to days, the story refused to fade. Because the discovery of the body wasn't just a tragic headline. It was the start of a timeline that would expose secrets, raise unsettling questions, and pull David's name into a storm that he hasn't escaped since. Here's where things get strange. Normally, when a body is discovered in someone's car, that person becomes the prime suspect instantly. That's what people expected when news broke that a teenage girl had been found in David's Tesla. But when reporters pressed the LAPD for answers, the official response left everyone stunned. David is not considered a suspect. Why? Authorities said there simply wasn't enough evidence, not yet. They pointed out that the cause and manner of death hadn't been determined. Without knowing exactly how Celeste's life ended, they couldn't label anyone responsible. And without conclusive evidence linking David to the scene, legally, their hands were tied. Publicly, detectives were cautious. They used words like ongoing investigation and active leads, but behind closed doors, nobody knew what conversations were happening. To the public eye, David wasn't charged, wasn't arrested, and wasn't even officially accused. It wasn't that he'd been cleared. Far from it. Investigators never said he was innocent. They never said he was ruled out. Instead, he was trapped in a strange limbo. Not guilty, but not free from suspicion either. And that's where the tension exploded. Because fans, critics, and internet sleuths all saw the same glaring fact. A body was in his car. No matter how carefully authorities worded their updates, the internet wasn't buying it. Was David quietly being protected? Were investigators waiting for the right evidence before making their move? Or was there truly not enough to tie him to the case? For weeks, the headlines circled the same contradiction. A famous young artist at the center of a grisly discovery. And yet somehow, legally, not a suspect. If the authorities were slow, the internet was not. Within hours of the body being linked to David's Tesla, fans began doing what online communities do best. Digging. Reddit threads, TikTok explainers, Discord leaks, and endless Twitter posts started piecing together a narrative that felt more like a crime documentary than casual gossip. People combed through David's song lyrics, pointing out chilling lines about a girl named Celeste, about loss, about obsession. Clips from his music videos were rewatched frame by frame, with fans arguing that he had deliberately cast girls who resembled her. Screenshots of old tattoos circulated online. With some swearing, they matched symbols connected to Celeste. Then came the footage that set everything on fire. A shaky concert video from August 24th in Silver Spring, Maryland. At first glance, it was just a fan-shot clip of David performing. But when viewers looked closer at the balcony above the stage, they noticed something eerie. A girl in the crowd, wearing a black tube top. The same clothing Celeste had allegedly been wearing when she was found. For internet sleuths, this was a breakthrough. If it really was her, then it meant Celeste was alive less than 2 weeks before the Tesla was towed on September 5th. The timing lined up almost too perfectly. But then, TMZ dropped a bombshell. According to their sources, the girl in the video wasn't Celeste at all. They insisted it was just someone who looked like her. Case closed? Hardly, because fans weren't convinced. The resemblance was uncanny, almost unsettling. And even if it wasn't her, another disturbing question emerged. Why did David seem to surround himself with women who looked exactly like Celeste? Was it a coincidence, or something more deliberate? In forums and comment sections, theories multiplied. Some said he was obsessed. Others believed it was a twisted form of guilt. And the more people looked, the more dots they connected. Whether those dots were real or imagined didn't matter. The internet had decided something about David's story wasn't adding up. The deeper people dug, the stranger the story became. It wasn't just the video. It wasn't just the lyrics. Fans began noticing a chilling theme. David's world seemed to orbit around the name Celeste. Celeste Rivas, the girl found in his car. Another young woman, also named Celeste, was seen hanging around him recently. And in multiple music videos, he had chosen actresses who looked eerily similar to her. Same build, same hair, same energy. It was like the name, the face, the idea of Celeste haunted every corner of his work. Then came the revelations about her age. Friends of David's told reporters they assumed Celeste was around 18 or 19. Why wouldn't they? She moved like an adult. She spoke like an adult. She got into industry parties where IDs were checked at the door. To them, she was just another young woman in the scene, but she wasn't. She was only 14 years old. And the explanation made everything feel even murkier. According to law enforcement, Celeste had multiple fake IDs. She used them to get into clubs, concerts, and even A-list Hollywood events. For most people, it seemed impossible that someone so young could slip into those spaces. But insiders explained, when you're with a celebrity, the rules bend. Bouncers don't want chaos outside a venue. If David walked in, whoever was with him often walked in too. No questions asked. Still, that left an unsettling question hanging in the air. Did David know her real age? Did his circle truly believe she was older? Or was it something they didn't want to admit? To fans watching the story unfold, it didn't matter. The picture was becoming clear. David's connection to Celeste wasn't some distant coincidence. It was close, it was personal, and the more people replayed the details, the harder it became to ignore the disturbing possibility that this wasn't an accident, but a pattern. While fans obsessed over the videos and lyrics, investigators quietly shifted focus to another critical location. The house David had been staying in. On paper, the mansion wasn't his. It was rented by his manager, a sleek Los Angeles property with a price tag of $20,000 a month. But what made the house so important wasn't the rent. It was the surveillance. According to the landlord, this house was wrapped in cameras. Front yard, backyard, street angles, every corner covered. He even said no one could come or go without being recorded. That meant if Celeste had ever been brought there, or if anything suspicious happened around the time of her disappearance, the truth could be sitting on those hard drives. But here's the chilling catch. The footage wasn't accessible to the landlord. Only the tenant had control. And the tenant on paper wasn't David. It was his manager. LAPD reportedly searched the home, but so far there's no confirmation that they ever got their hands on those tapes, which leaves a disturbing possibility. Video proof of what really happened could exist, and no one outside that inner circle has seen it. And the timeline makes the whole situation even murkier. The lease for that mansion was signed in February 2024. The same month, people began leaving cryptic comments online about David being involved with an underage girl. Think about that. The whispers had already started, and suddenly, his manager locked down a multi-million-dollar property, one that could easily hide comings and goings from the public eye. Even stranger? Just days after the body was discovered in David's Tesla, the manager broke the lease. The landlord said their